Good morning, and welcome to Saturday, August the 14th. Sorry this is later than normal for you today, especially for those of you. I know at least one person who gets up very early to go to work and makes this part of her routine and the start of her day. So sorry to you. I don't know who else gets up that early on a Saturday morning, though, so maybe this isn't too late for you. I don't know. It's been a unusual week for me, and a lot of things not normally in my schedule. Uh, once in a week, a year kind of thing, really. So, sorry if it inconvenienced you having this late, but I thought I'd take some time now, and I don't want to miss the last thoughts that John Stott will share with us from Hebrews. So because I know I want to hear it, maybe you do too. So here's Saturday, August the 14th devotion, and Running the Christian Race is the title of today's devotion. The suggested reading, Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. He quotes two of those verses in our lead-in. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, those he's mentioned in Hebrews 11, the chapter of faith. We are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus. I know just reading those verses is enough of a devotion for me. Everybody in the ancient world knew about the Greek games. As Greek culture permeated the Roman Empire, the games accompanied it. Every city had its amphitheater in which athletes displayed their prowess before huge and appreciative crowds, running, boxing, wrestling, spear throwing, and chariot racing. Several times in the New Testament, the Christian life is likened to an athletic race, not because we are competing with one another, but because it demands great self-discipline. Our author's concern is that we run with perseverance the race marked out for us, there in verse 1. He seems to lay down three requirements as means to endurance in the race. Firstly, remember the spectators. We are surrounded, he writes, by such a great cloud of witnesses. These certainly include the Old Testament heroes of faith portrayed in chapter 11 and probably their equivalents in New Testament days. But in what sense are they witnesses? It surely means that they once bore witness on earth. But could it also include the Christian dead who are watching now from heaven? Tentatively, I think it does, because we are said to be surrounded by them, which suggests that we should envisage tier upon tier of excited spectators in the local amphitheater. To remember the spectators is to be inspired to greater exertion. That's good. Secondly, go into training. All serious athletes accept a strenuous regime of food, drink, exercise, and sleep. And for the race itself, they lay aside both surplus body weight and inappropriate clothing. In Christian terms, this means turning away from sin and laying aside weights, quote unquote, which may not be sinful in themselves, but nevertheless hinder the race. Thirdly, keep looking to the finish line. Christian athletes are to look away from all distractions and fix their eyes on Jesus, who seems to be standing at the finish line. Consider him, the author writes in verse 3, and especially his endurance of the cross and of hostility against himself. Thus, surrounded by witnesses, profiting from strenuous training and fixing our eyes on Jesus, we will run our race with perseverance. The very possibility of dropping out is unthinkable. Interesting circumstances in sports this year. It's changing now, but many sports, including the Olympics themselves, the carry on of the Greek games mentioned here, was it no spectators were allowed, or very few spectators were allowed. We're so used to hearing the roar of the crowd when their team or their player does well, when a great play is run, when an impossible athletic move is made, when a record is broken. The crowds cheer and yell, chant, hold up signs. Is Paul asking us to think of that as we run the Christian race, live the Christian race, that there are saints in heaven, including the angels, including the Lord Jesus himself, cheering us on. Cheering us on. So Paul, the writer of the Hebrews says, do whatever you need to do to run that race well. Keep your eyes fixed on that finish line where Jesus is, the author and the perfecter of our faith. Realize that others here on earth are also watching, and that the way we live our lives can cheer them on, can enliven their response to things. Or you've been to a game where your team didn't do very well and you walked away discouraged. I'm a Cubs fan. I know these things. You find it hard to cheer them on anymore sometimes. Think of living the Christian life the same way. How we live it, how we run this race, determines the encouragement or discouragement, the response of others. Do it for the Lord. Do it for others. Be disciplined and persevere. Blessings to you today on this Saturday.